We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. Hootie Court sentences 9 men to death for sodomy, with 3 facing public flogging, drawing criticism from across the globe. It's biblical, as they will be crucified and stoned to death.
LGBTQ plus identification in the U.S. has risen to 7.6%, doubling since 2012, with Gen Z and millennials leading. Bisexuality is prevalent.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Disney resolve a 2-year legal dispute over governance of Walt Disney World's overseeing district. Win, lose, or draw.
GLAAD's unsafe report exposes Meta's failures in moderating anti-trans hate. Is it Meta after Twitter? If not, will Meta act?
Out in Equals report reveals 94% of Americans noting a declining inequality, and 45% of LGBTQ plus experience diminished security. Interestingly, it affects choice of cities and states to work in.
Good evening and welcome. This is Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and available on demand. We're on all your smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV. We're also at Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news for Thursday, March 28th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our queer culture, the Black community, Latino, lesbians, and queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS, healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
We're going to start off tonight and we're going to meet our anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Buddy Frey, a longtime South Florida resident. He supports many of our local nonprofit organizations like Julian's Fountain of Youth and the Stonewall National Library Museum. Buddy, I hear the beloved Wilton Collective grand opening grows dramatically larger. There's a new location, including the 1414 on 26 event space. Tell me, what's that all about?
Well, we're very excited with the collection and how it's growing. They have a new space, as you just announced, and as of Tuesday, April 2nd, it will officially be open to the general public, which is exciting. And also, on the 26th, there's going to be a formal grand opening at 5 p.m. So at this point in time, anyone who's interested, I encourage you to contact the collective or check out their website for further information and tickets.
Excellent. Next, we'll welcome anchor John Buckley. He's Vice President and Program Director for Unity Coalition, creator of Kioba Initiative, a free traveling social event that features inspiring speakers, topics, and a safe space for all same-sex, gender-loving people of color. John is Buck Lords from the famous House of Lords. John, you're hosting an event, interesting event in Miami, the Miami AIDS Memorial Project at Vizcaya Museum on April 10th. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, it's going to be a great evening where we introduce the Miami Memorial AIDS Project. And we have an exciting Vogue performance that's being produced by Legacy Builders. So basically it's free to the public. There's an Eventbrite. All you got to do is go, sign up, get your ticket for free. And you definitely don't want to miss this evening to commemorate HIV/AIDS and ballroom.
Excellent. And next, my friend, Gregg Shapiro. Gregg's 9th book, just 9, Gregg? Refrain in Light. Okay, good. Refrain in Light was selected for the Poetry Mutual 10 Best Poetry Books of 2023. His entertainment coverage, including celebrity interviews, run in a variety of print and online publications. Gregg, you've published many, many, many works of poetry. However, I bet you're pretty excited about one that's coming up. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes, I'm very excited about Oh Miami, which runs through the month of April, which is National Poetry Month. It's also a little sad as Scott Cunningham, the mastermind behind the Poetry Festival, which has always been LGBTQ plus inclusive, he's leaving South Florida. He's relocating. So this is his last Oh Miami. But that said, the 2024 schedule featuring the Drag Poetry Slam promises to be fantastic. So for more information about Oh Miami, visit ohmiami.org.
And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, Dr. Tai Houser. He is a professor of English and Humanities at Broward College and teaches in the College of Business at Florida Atlantic University. He has served as a visiting professor at colleges in Bolivia, Brazil, China, India, and Spain, and provides an international viewpoint. Tai, the University of Miami has an interesting speakers program from Jennifer V. Evans called Why We Need Queer Kinship Now More Than Ever on April 11th. Tell me what's happening.
So if you don't know this, the University of Miami Humanities Center has a lot of really interesting things going on, so you should definitely follow them. And there are a couple of key LGBTQ plus things happening this week. Jennifer Evans is from Carleton University in Canada, and her newest book is called The Queer Art of History. And she really is talking about how not everyone has benefited from all the progress that we've made in the last few years. And she takes a historical perspective on this and looks at it in Germany, which I think is interesting because she can talk about fascism and the unique German perspective from the Holocaust and fascism and how they've dealt with LGBTQ plus issues. And I think it's actually poignant for today because we're on the cusp of fascism ourselves, I think. Yeah. So it's worth a look. Check out the website and feel free to visit because it's supposed to be pretty good. We're the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for Thursday, March 28th, 2024. We begin tonight by queering up the worldview. World shock as 9 gay men sentenced to death by crucifixion and stoning by African court. According to Human Rights Watch, a Houthi court handed death sentences to 9 men on charges of sodomy, with 3 facing public flogging. The death sentence includes crucifixion and stoning. An additional 23 people were sent to prison. This is among the most distressing instances of civilians facing severe sentences for immoral acts under conservative Islamist rule. Human Rights Watch stated that the Houthis resort to such harsh measures to divert attention from their government failures and lack of basic services. The sentences were imposed following serious violations of Yemen's own criminal procedural code, including actions like the absence of arrest warrants and unauthorized seizures of the men's phones. The men were also reportedly denied sufficient access to legal counsel. Yemen's criminal procedural laws, specifically Articles 132 and 172, forbid law enforcement from arresting individuals or confiscating their belongings without a warrant. Additionally, another article mandates that the presence of a lawyer during police interrogations is mandated. Despite being a non-state actor, the Houthis, who govern large parts of Yemen, are bound by international law to uphold human rights standards. Human Rights Watch urged the group to cease imposing the death penalty and other harsh punishments and to ensure fair trials for all accused individuals. But the Houthis seem drunk on power. This unfortunate incident sheds light on how things can go awry when power-hungry conservative ideologies win. Well, and isn't that just the case when power-hungry conservative ideologies win? So this happened a little while ago. They still haven't carried out any of the punishments or executions, and I did find out that they haven't really carried a whole lot of them out. Since 2022, there have been 350 death sentences, but only 11 people executed. Now, not that that's a good thing, but they seem to be dragging their feet on some of this. Certainly, though, it's terrible, and these kinds of sentences should never be taking place anyway.
No, it's shocking and abhorrent, and of course, this sounds like the Houthis have taken a page from the Republican distraction playbook. As Jafarnia said, that this is being done to divert attention from the governance failures.
Right.
So, obviously, but unfortunately, it's our community that is suffering because of this.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, you've hit it on the head. It seems like the governments around the world, regardless of the size of the country or the location of the country, when the governance is weak, they find scapegoats. And historically, the LGBT community has always been a scapegoat,
right,
along with women and young girls and a few other minorities. So it's a sad situation, and it's just a shame that there's not a way that we as an LGBTQ plus community here in the States can't have better impact to provide these individuals with a lifeline or some sort of sense of safety that we're at least trying. Yeah. Maybe that would be a good article to follow up on and see if maybe there is some means for the community here in the States, even with our own problems, that we could provide support somehow.
Yeah.
It's inhumane and just disgusting that this is still happening regardless in this day and age. And like you all really need to key in and try our best to help out more.
Well, and that's what happens when people hide behind religion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Buddy, why don't you bring us back to the U.S.?
That's right. Next, let's queer up the USA view. Gallup poll says highest in history as 30% of Gen Z women now identify as LGBTQ+. According to a new Gallup poll, LGBTQ+ identification in the United States continues to rise, with 7.6% of adults identifying as LGBTQ+. This percentage marks a significant increase from 5.6% just 4 years ago. The data, based on aggregated information from a Gallup telephone survey conducted in 2023 with over 12,000 American adults aged 18 and older, reflects a growing trend. While 85.6% identify as straight or heterosexual, 7.6% identify with the LGBTQ+ community, and 6.8% choose not to respond. But the big news in this is how Gen Z and millennials are significantly more likely to identify as LGBTQ+ compared to older generations. In fact, each successive younger generation is approximately twice as likely as the preceding one to identify as LGBTQ+. Queer News Tonight has previously reported bisexuality emerges as the prominent LGBTQ+ identity among Gen Z, millennials, and Generation X. 15% of all Gen Z adults, including over 2/3 of those identifying as LGBTQ+, identify as bisexual. The headline, however, is how women exhibit a higher likelihood of identifying, as compared to men, with 8.5% identifying as LGBTQ+. Bisexuality stands out as the most prevalent identification amongst women, especially Gen Z. Notably, 25.8% of Gen Z women and 12.4% of millennial women identify as lesbian. It's by LGBTQ+, I'm sorry. These statistics hint at probable reasons why the present conservative and evangelical views will have a difficult time growing in the future. Well, it doesn't surprise me because women are much more comfortable in their feelings. They come together as a community much better than men sometimes do. And it doesn't surprise me because I'm sure everybody here knows the Kinsey scale is such a large scale. Nobody identifies as 100% of anything. It's somewhere in the middle. So it doesn't surprise me that as we have had success in the community and we are out and proud and have some degree of success compared to other countries and other communities, that, you know, younger generations are like, okay, it's okay to be who I am and go through the growth stage. But so it doesn't surprise me.
That's kind of my question, though. I mean, is it?
Excuse me.
It's increasing, kind of generation by generation. Is there something in the water that we didn't have 20 years ago? Or
I don't think it's something in the water. I just think it's the reality of having community as big as we are and as obvious as we are. Now, it's kind of disappointing that the men's portion of the community is still lagging behind, but that could be, you know, just because we're men and we don't typically or historically or stereotypically open up.
But I think also that the culture, the society have always been somewhat more accepting of lesbians, of women, than they have of gay men. And then to answer the question, I think that it is related to cultural and societal changes and attitudes. But speaking as a community elder, I like to think that it's the result of the groundwork laid by us and those who came before that make it easier for people.
Yes.
We're standing on the shoulders of everyone who has particularly taken a stand for us. So it's great to see that now, you know, we are able to just come out and be who we are without having like shame or regret.
So you brought up a very important point that I don't think we should overlook, and it's that idea that society has kind of been more okay with lesbians than with gay men. And really the reason behind that is the heteronormative worldview, because men are going to be okay with two women together because they always think they can be the dick in the middle.
They can fix it.
Yeah, then they can fix
and
it.
women
So that's
can always
why
have babies.
Yeah.
We need babies.
Yeah.
So like even with that as the worldview, though, the rise is also in bisexuality and not necessarily in a one over the other in a gay or straight. Is there a reason why we might be opening up to bisexuality?
Well, I mean, look at the prevalence of polyamorous relationships and open straight relationships, let alone the gay relationships. I mean, you can't turn on a reality show with half the characters all sitting there going, well, when did that happen?
Well,
okay,
and interestingly enough, the Gallup poll doesn't report on the 1% non-binary population as well.
Yeah.
So that's not part of that. That's not part of that.
Well, next, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Ron DeSantis and Disney war ends as settlement agreement is reached. In Florida, a dispute between Republican Governor Ron DeSantis and Disney has ended with a settlement. This resolution concludes nearly 2 years of legal battle over the governance of Walt Disney World's overseeing district. The Central Florida Tourism Oversight District's board members approved the settlement on Wednesday. According to the 6-page settlement, Disney agreed to temporarily halt its appeal of a court ruling, aiming to negotiate a new growth plan with tax district officials. Additionally, Disney agreed to cease litigation against the tax district in state court. Governor DeSantis hailed the settlement as a validation of the state's actions. The disagreement in question arose after DeSantis criticized Disney for its opposing the state's controversial education law. In 2022, Disney openly opposed Florida's Don't Say Gay law, limiting discussions on the sexual orientation and gender identity in schools. In response, Governor DeSantis, with backing from the Republican-led legislature, appointed new board members to the district, challenging Disney's influence. In January, a federal judge dismissed Disney's lawsuit against DeSantis and his appointees. Before DeSantis took control, Disney was granted significant authority over design and construction at Disney World through an agreement. However, members appointed by DeSantis argued against such authority. Disney then responded by seeking judicial confirmation of the legality and enforceability of the agreement. The recent settlement resolves this dispute. Disney and DeSantis. It was only a matter of time, though, because he raged this war from the get-go, and even with him, he picked the wrong people to basically go against.
Yeah, well, and it seems like it's kind of in some ways like, I don't know if this is the right analogy, but the perfect storm to lead to a stalemate.
Yeah, it's not a victory for either.
Yeah, it's not a victory for either, but yet DeSantis is still claiming
victory. Of course he is. He's running with it, of course.
Well, he needs that right now because in the polls, this has hurt him dramatically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the best he could hope for.
But is anybody else just sickened at the thought of him thinking that he's got victory?
The thought of him thinking makes
well,
me
that's true.
nauseous.
Sorry. That's true.
But could it be that the federal, the state ruling on the Don't Say Gay law happened, and so Disney doesn't really have anything anymore.
Right.
DeSantis doesn't have anything more. In fact, the chairperson of the oversight district stepped down, who was a DeSantis person, and the new person came in, and that's the day after when they reached the settlement.
But this is a challenge for me. I mean, it's still a very new discussion, so I don't know all the details, but the only thing that I think could hurt Disney is, they had that tax district, which they are the only major corporation in the state, because 4 or 5 other major corporations like the Daytona racetrack has it, and a bunch of others. Do they get that tax issues back, and do they have the right to build when they want, where they want, how they want?
I think this is a reset button, and everyone said, okay, we're going to play nice now.
Okay.
They better.
But we'll see.
They better.
Yeah.
Don't make me take my belt off. Next.
Oh, yes, please.
Let's queer out of business. GLAAD report says Meta Facebook is failing LGBTQ plus users. Major social media platforms continue to neglect the safety of LGBTQ plus users by failing to curb hateful content. Twitter is a perfect example of this. GLAAD's new report, named Unsafe, Meta fails to moderate extreme anti-trans hate across Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, exposes Meta's persistent shortcomings in moderating hate speech against transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming individuals. Covering the period from June 2023 to March 2024, the findings illustrate Meta's inadequate response to reports of harmful content that violates its community guidelines on their platforms. Despite GLAAD's diligent reporting, Meta frequently dismissed violations or failed to respond, allowing harmful content to persist. The reported material includes violent speech, targeted harassment, and calls for practices such as conversion therapy and eradicating transgender individuals. GLAAD's president and CEO, Sarah Kate Ellis, condemned Meta's inaction, calling it unacceptable. Ellis emphasized that Meta's choice to overlook these issues reflects a deliberate disregard for the safety of vulnerable users on its platform. GLAAD's report underscores the pressing need for action, echoing a June 2023 open letter by more than 250 LGBTQ plus leaders and allies. Last September, the Advocate reported on a Media Matters study revealing Meta's moderation shortcomings. Notably, Instagram's tolerance of groups such as Gays Against Groomers, spreading harmful anti-LGBTQ plus messages. Of course, the most pressing issue is whether Meta will take necessary action to protect the LGBTQ plus community. Well, considering the role that social media, and Facebook in particular, has played in recent elections, especially with this election coming up. This report is kind of disturbing in an election year as the far right continues to come after us sort of just nonstop. And it makes you wonder what it's going to take for Meta to protect its multiple, sizable LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah. So I think the idea here is Meta is the way they're policing this stuff is just through algorithms, right? And they don't really want to hire people to do a whole lot of work because that's going to cut into their profit. And folks, that's capitalism. Yes. That's what's ruining us here. Someone has to be exploited. Who's being exploited? We are. Because that's what's going to make the Zuckerbergs a lot more money. Now, what I think might be interesting, and I'm just going to throw this out there, AI might actually help with this. Because they won't have to pay someone anymore, will they? They could technically, instead of work with algorithms, they work on AI technology.
Wow.
And maybe in the next couple of years we'll see these kinds of things improve.
Well, it's the the internet has grown so exponentially, so fast that I don't know if we're ever going to ever have the upper hand on it. Because as quick as it changes, the laws are 55 years behind. And you're never going to get the coalition of support to control that. I mean, look at what Europe's reaction is to Meta and others. They're trying to police them, and they're trying to, and I shouldn't say police them, they're trying to give them better guidelines that we have here in the States. And it's going to be years before that ever happens. So what happens in the meantime? It's just business as usual. And it was just announced that Mark Zuckerberg made $28.5 billion this year. So there's no impetus for him to change anything, as long as he goes to the bank every day. So the only way that the LGBTQ plus community is going to win this is by finances and the support of the community that loves us. And I just don't see that happening in this political market. And again, with the whole change of the internet as it is, it changes faster than anyone can control it. The tiger is out of the cage, and there's nothing to stop us.
Well, and not as justification, but think about the number of posts that they have to go through every day.
Yeah, and
I mean, there are billions of posts every day.
I understand that, but there are no real guidelines here in the state. It's like the Wild West. It's a free-for-all. And we were warned this 20 years ago when it all began, and we're still sitting here going, well, I don't know. What should we do? Well, it is what it is. So next, let's queer up gay culture. New study shows that 79% of American workers decide where they live and work over anti-LGBTQ plus laws. Legislation targeting LGBTQ plus rights not only violates human rights, but also affects the American economy by deterring potential employees. A recent report from Out and Equal, a nonprofit promoting workplace equality, reveals that 94% of surveyed U.S. employees, regardless of sexual orientation, perceive a decline in the LGBTQ plus equality over the past year. Additionally, 45% feel less secure in their states due to this anti-LGBTQ plus laws, or these laws. Out and Equal's CEO emphasizes that the significant progress made by the LGBTQ plus movement over 2 decades is now under threat. As a consequence of anti-LGBTQ plus laws in state legislatures, 31% of respondents have contemplated moving due to a lack of security. The headline from the report is that an overwhelming majority of 79% stated that such laws would influence their decision to relocate for a job or a position in another state. This number suggests that states like Florida and Texas could have difficulty in the future with continuing to attract new residents related to work. Although 40% expressed discomfort discussing the effects of anti-LGBTQ plus laws with supervisors, most of these respondents believe their supervisors could offer some support in various ways. Another 56% believe supervisors can offer flexibility or remote work arrangements. And 55% believe engaging in public policy advocacy would be helpful. Some have suggested employers provide resources for relocation, offer support for out-of-state travel and benefits, and implement dedicated assistance programs for employees affected by changing legislation. Out and Equal is one of the world's largest LGBTQ plus organizations that advise American businesses on queer issues and concerns. Well, again, this shouldn't be a shock because we have this thread going through our lives on a daily basis. It's boiled down to politics and capitalism. What costs the least, and what do the laws state today, and what is the mindset of the voting public? So are we shocked? No. I live in Florida like everybody standing here at this table. Right. Am I shocked? No. But it's just a battle that we have to work forward, and if you are feeling uncomfortable and don't have the resources, you make the decisions best for you and your family, and that means moving out, you move out.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't entertain moving to any other part of Florida. I just don't see it as viable. I mean, even didn't the Human Rights Campaign recently say don't go to Florida?
Yeah.
Like
along with NAACP.
Okay, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe it was the NAACP and I'm misremembering.
No, they both.
Oh,
they both did that.
Okay, so it's true.
Yeah.
And Texas is just as bad from friends that live in Texas. It's the politics. It boils down to the everyday events.
Right.
Yeah, when my husband Rick and I moved here more than 10 years ago in the pre-DeSantis days, we felt like we'd arrived in paradise in the blue bubble of Broward County, but so much has changed since that time. So I do understand that hesitation of moving to a place where you might be in danger.
Yeah.
But that also reminds us that we have to remind people to vote, because the only way to make make change in this country right now is to register to vote and to literally vote. And I mean the whole ticket, not just part of it, not just one, local as well as national.
That's right. That's where the change happens. All right. Well, tonight's broadcast is presented with the generous support of our generous viewers and our friends at Visit Lauderdale. Everyone under the sun.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up culture. This is Top Chef, new LGBTQ+ host Kristen Kish. Former Top Chef champion Kristen Kish steps into the spotlight as the new host for the season of the new popular food competition Top Chef. This will be the 21st season of the show. Replacing Padma Lakshmi, Kish brings her culinary experience to the unique Wisconsin food scene. While this marks her debut as host, Kish is no stranger to the show, having won season 10 in Seattle in 2012. Adding to the excitement of the LGBTQ+ fans, Kish is an out lesbian who proudly declared her pride in 2014 on Instagram. She married to Bianca Dusick in 2021. Season 21 of Top Chef premiered on Wednesday, March 20th on Bravo.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Get your skates on for Pride Skate Nights at Xtreme Action Park on April 4th. It's kind of old-fashioned, which is why we kind of love it. Get ready to roll at Pride Skates Night on April 4th. Visit the Arena Roller Rink at Xtreme Action Park with your friends and family to enjoy the skate night that takes place every first Thursday of the month. Pride Skate Nights promises queer fun for all ages and features music by DJ T-Pro Mix and special guest performances by divas Velvet Lenore and Rihanna Patron. A general entry ticket is $15 and VIP ticket, which includes alcoholic beverages, is $25. A portion of every ticket sold directly supports the Stonewall Parade and Festival in June. For further details and ticket purchases, visit extremeactionpark.com.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up health. It's National Viagra Day. A new study finds unexpected side effect of little blue pill. The gay community knows the benefit of Viagra, but new research confirms that regular use of erectile dysfunction medication, particularly Viagra, may lower the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. The exact reason for this effect is unclear, but it's speculated that these drugs improve blood flow to the brain. Published in Neurology, the study examined the health records of 269,725 men in the UK aged over 40. Those with ED between 2007 and 2017 were prescribed sildenafil, Viagra, or tadalafil, Cialis. 5 years later, those who took ED medication regularly were 20% less likely to develop Alzheimer's symptoms. The effect was more pronounced with higher usage of Viagra. The author of the study, Ruth Brower, said that more research will help confirm these findings.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Kelly Clarkson asks gay men's choir to sing for her. The Des Moines Gay Men's Chorus had planned a concert series featuring LGBTQ plus icon Kelly Clarkson's songs. Unaware that she'd become a fan, upon learning about the concerts, Clarkson herself invited them onto her show as part of What Am I Liking segment and surprised them during their performance. Clarkson's songs resonate with the LGBTQ plus community's journey, which inspired the chorus to honor her. She pledged support, offering a $1,000 check from one of her sponsors to help them continue fearlessly creating. Artistic director Eric Shepard expressed gratitude for her music. Clarkson's gesture affirmed the power of music in fostering connection and support within the LGBTQ plus community.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience, watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on your Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I have been your anchor this evening, Dr. Tai Houser, and I am proof that if you put on a jacket and wear makeup, you can sell Bibles. On behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Buddy Frey, John Buckley, and Gregg Shapiro. We'll see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you
good
night.